Good morning, everybody. How you doing today? I am here. It's Wednesday. I'm here at the church, and I am in a part of the church that I'll bet maybe only 1% of you has ever seen. And I'm going to reveal where I am in just a little bit. But the thing that I wanted to talk about today, the message, just a little meditation for our midweek meditation time here, is on the importance of being able to look at things differently, being able to look at a situation from different points of view. As we all know, we're in this situation, continued isolation. Things, I think, are starting to turn the other direction. Things are starting to open up very slowly. Your church leaders are looking at this as well. We are going to have a meeting on next Tuesday, the 19th, to discuss what we need to do and have in place for us to open our doors safely and allow people to come back in, and how we're going to do that in a positive, productive way that's going to, first and foremost, keep people safe. That's our primary objective in everything that we do. As we're going through this time of isolation, we have a choice as to how we want to look at things. We can mourn and bemoan all the things we've lost, or we can look at it from a different point of view and look at it as kind of a neat little experiment as to life is giving us an opportunity to see how things would be if things were radically different. For instance, Kathy and I have often wondered what it would be like and would our boys enjoy homeschooling. Well, what we've discovered is no, we don't. And the reason for that is mostly because the boys miss school. They miss the structure of school. They miss seeing their friends. They miss all the opportunities that being at school allows them. So for us, one way that I think we can look at this is from the positive and say, we've been given this opportunity. We didn't have to try homeschooling for a semester. We've been forced to try it now. So our lives are all in the way we look at things, and we have to oftentimes step back to look at things from a different perspective. So the scripture reading that I want to highlight in regards to this theme is from Luke 19, verses 1 through 10. This is the story of Jesus and Zacchaeus. He entered Jericho and was passing through it. A man was there named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. He was trying to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd he could not, because he was short in stature. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree to see him, because he was going to pass that way. When Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today." So he hurried down and was happy to welcome him. All who saw it began to grumble and said, "He has gone to be the guest of one who is a sinner." Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, "Look, half of my possessions, Lord, I will give to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I will pay back 4 times as much." Then Jesus said to him, "Today's salvation has come to this house, because he too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek out and to save the lost." Now, this is just a wonderful story in that Zacchaeus literally changes his perspective, partly because he too is forced to, much like we are ourselves. Zacchaeus, being a short man, could not see Jesus, so he had to climb the sycamore tree to see him. Now, in this, we can take this as a literal translation. He couldn't see, so he climbs the tree. But the deeper meaning behind this is that Zacchaeus was, he was a tax collector they were known to be basically thieves, kind of one for the state, one for myself. And so they were known to be those kind of criminals that would skim off the top and take money for themselves. And he was rich, so he was not looked upon kindly by those who struggled for their living. And so for Zacchaeus, not only does he have to look at Jesus from a different angle because he physically can't see him, on a metaphorical spiritual level, Zacchaeus has to look at Jesus differently too, because he's a Jew. He knows that he has a certain set of rules to follow, And if we want to see Jesus clearly, we can't go about it by way of rules and laws that bring me to God. We have to go about it from the perspective of love. And Jesus loved us, God loved us enough to send Jesus. So for Zacchaeus, he has to look at Jesus from a different point of view. And so he literally does, but also spiritually, he has to look at Jesus not as a Jew, but as a person of faith who believes that Jesus is the Messiah. So let me just now reveal where I am, and I think once I open this door, you're going to see. This is the part of the church where I am now. You can see the pipes here. This is the organ loft. Maybe, I'm sure, most of you have never seen the church from this perspective. These are all the old pipes, and out, I'm sure you can't see because, just because, but the new pipes are out through the shutters. And I just thought that this would be a neat way to expose a different part of the church that you've never seen before, as well as give this meditation. So, like I said, Zacchaeus himself had to look at life from a different perspective. And because he was willing to do so, he gets the blessing of God. He gets the grace that Jesus offers. He gets what it means to be a child of God. And he's going to get the grace and the love of God because he's willing to see things from a different perspective. Again, that's the message today. We have a choice as to how we want to look at things during this time of isolation. We have a choice no matter what the situation is as to how we want to look at it. And sometimes I think we just need to take a step back and reevaluate. The bottom line, no matter what is going on in our lives, God continues to love us, he continues to bless us, and he continues to walk with us through this time of pain and isolation. And in doing so, he's continuing to give us blessings. So we have a choice. Am I able to step aside and see those blessings? Or am I going to focus on the things that I find problematic? Zacchaeus climbed a tree to see Jesus from a different perspective, but also in his heart, he had to see Jesus as the Messiah. And because he did, he received the blessing. So if we're just focused on the difficulties that we're having today, we're just going to keep having difficulties and it's going to be harder. But if we look at this from the different perspective and really trust that God is doing something, we don't even have to understand what he's doing, but we know that God is doing something. And as long as we're open to that, as long as we're open to the idea that I don't have to have all the answers and God does, then we're free to experience that same grace and life and peace that Jesus makes available. As I was putting this together, I was thinking about there's a modern day wordsmith who wrote the words, "Trust I seek and I find in you, every day for us something new, open mind for a different view, and nothing else matters." We need to have that open mind. We need to have the open mind to look at life from a different perspective. Because the thing that matters most to us is that God is present with us and that he can give us everything we need to walk through this time. So take time this week. Take time today. Step outside of your routine, of your situation, and try to look at it from a different perspective. Look at it from a perspective of hope. Look at it from a perspective of God doing something with you at this time that you normally would not have the opportunity to do. We have time together as a family that we didn't have before. There's the quick, frantic pace of life has drastically slowed down. This is a blessing and a gift. Let's look at it for what it is. Trust that God is active in the process and continue to move forward knowing that he's with us. Open our minds for a different view and trust that God is leading our way. Until we meet again, God's peace and blessings be with you all.